Yo, we're on the main account, and today we're gonna be looking at something that I recently discovered. I don't think everyone has seen this yet, but we of course have our our tactics, the SSR ones, the UR ones, and that's the only ones we can get currently, of course, from a Pinnacle, which is over now, and also from Abyss. But it looks like there is more. Not only does it go all the way to LR, but there are LR cells that we don't even have in the game yet. For example, this one, only the LR exists, or this one, only the LR exists, this one, whereas for other ones you of course have these as well. These are already in the game, but there are ones that only the LR exists, which means you can only get them from combining 3 URs, which is crazy. And you can see it's way more tactics than what we can currently get. So it's 1, 2 here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 10 additional tactics to the 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, to the 11 that we already have. So like basically just double the amount. And we're just gonna look at this, and the first thing of course is look at these ridiculous stats. It's nuts. 20k HP, 1.1k defense, 1.3k attack. That's way too much. And now if we look at the passives, it's a joke. So let's start from here. So we have reduce all enemies regeneration rate and restoration rate by 150%. Yeah, it's just a scaled version of these ones, and I mean these are already decent. Of course the stats outweigh this passive, and it's a universal tactic, so this is like S tier for sure. Shield tactic. When the battle starts, grant yourself a shield equal to 5% of your max HP for 1 turn. That was the passive normally, and now we have an additional passive. When taking damage from non-active skills, so a trigger, for example, like a start of round trigger, or a passive trigger, whatever it might be, absorbs 10% of the damage taken and convert it into a shield for 1 turn. So this is really strong. I can see this hard countering CCG especially, because of all their trigger damage, and like the trigger from Almon at start of round and stuff. Pretty sure this hard counters that. Fortified armor. When a battle starts, increase your defense by 10% when your turn starts. Randomly remove 2 debuffs from yourself. So again, okay, so the 8% was turned to 10%, and then we get this additional passive of just removing 2 debuffs, which is nice. Potent, okay, this one also got a new passive. When your HP is above 50% instead of 75, increase your defense by 15%, which is nice, and reduce damage taken by 5%, which is pretty nice. Yeah. Then this is a new one. So when an enemy uses an active skill to attack your allies, there's a 20% chance to retaliate against a target with a level 1 active skill. This is probably the most disgusting one in the entire game. If you play a lot of like carnival game modes, encounter and stuff, you know how problematic retaliate is. And having this passive in the game for all game modes, that's a problem. So I don't think, like, I'm just gonna come out and say it, but this is probably gonna be the best tactic in the game. Nothing can top this. This is just unfair. You can equip one of these on every single one of your teammates. It's universal. Anyone can use this, and it will just break the game. Especially if both guys have it, it's gonna be purely luck based. This is gonna be very, very disgusting. SSS tier in a league of its own. Yeah, I mean this is just unfair. Then we have Redemption. Upon death, increase all allied basic stats by 10% for 2 turns. Now, it's still universal with the stats and stuff, so it's definitely a good one, but the passive isn't I mean, it's good, but it's not that OP. The thing is, when you lose a target, like a unit, most of the times the fight is already decided. Now 10% base stats isn't gonna change that outcome, except if it's like Anteiku versus Anteiku in an AI versus AI scenario. Then I can definitely see this impacting the fight a lot. So this is the one we already have. So increase damage dealt by active skills by 20%. Jesus Christ. And by non-active skills by 30%. Yeah, this is the problem. Wait, so it's DPS. It's not burst. So let's see who falls into the DPS category again that could abuse this. So the first passive, the extra damage, 20%, is for everyone, of course, but the 30% extra damage on non-active skills. Okay, it looks like it's gonna be extremely overpowered on the new Uta, since he triggers like 50 times a turn. Jason, because he has a trigger. And Psy Ayado, because of his trigger, yeah. Sounds very good for them. Very, well, Red Ayado isn't meta, but for these guys, yeah, that's a strong tactic. Wow. I'm glad that Green Arima isn't in this category, because with this passive he'd be one-shotting everything. Now, increase crit rate by 15%. When landing a crit hit, your next attack deals extra damage equal to 15% of the damage dealt. That is nuts. Imagine you're playing Wit Owl and you do a turn 3 triple Wit Owl active. This is gonna like annihilate the enemy. It's just gonna delete him. So very, very strong passive. And this is a new one. When dealing damage, increase damage dealt by 5% for each debuff on the target, up to 30%. If the target has more than 4 debuffs, this attack is guaranteed to crit. So this is crazy for boss fights, for sure. This sounds extremely OP for boss fights. In PvP, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, if you have a lot of debuffs, this is definitely strong. Especially if it procs for every enemy. Wit Owl is also just gonna be able to abuse this like crazy. So I mean, yeah. Then this is also a new one. So non-active skills are guaranteed crit hits. Now this is just good for triggers. This sounds like a very good sell for Carnival Ayado, just because he triggers so much, and it's nice if everything crits. That can do lots of damage. Then balance. So Bloodstained Tactics is the one we already have. When taking damage, increase crit rate, that's new, and pen rate by 6% for 2 turns up to 2 stacks. So the 2 turns is the same. This time it's 2 stacks, so 12%, and it's crit rate as well. So I mean, pretty decent, I guess. This is new. After using an active skill to attack an enemy, if the target survives, there's a 30% chance to trigger the skill again. Now, this is disgusting. This probably belongs in like an SSS tier as well. This is very, very scary. I mean, if we look into the balance category, if you play, well, Green Owl isn't per se like meta anymore, right? But even just on a green Toka, it's just so much easier to kill targets. And with Green Owl, he's just gonna like trigger again. So yeah, that's scary, I guess. Okay, burst. So this is the one we already have. When killing a target, increase your all stats by 5% instead of 3% for 2 turns, and boost your skill level. So the thing is, boosting skill level and stuff, very OP normally, right? But as I said before, in most fights, if you kill a target, the fight is already won. Now, I can see this tactic being pretty strong in AI versus AI still. Basically, you just need to get the first kill. If you can manage that, you will win the fight. But it doesn't enable you to win right off the bat, right? Because it only procs on kill. So for me, tactics that give you buffs from the start are simply going to be more dominant and better. Now, bombardment tactic. So when using a single target, active skill has a 20% chance to deal extra damage, so from 15 to 20, equal to 120% of your attack. It's the same. And then if the enemy's HP is above 60%, increase this skill's damage dealt by 30%. So this is one of the worst tactics in my opinion. It's just you're betting on like chance, like just on odds. However, I can see this being very, very overpowered for boss fights, and maybe this can bring Shu back into the meta. However, 20%, it's just too low. You need that to be like 80% for Shu to be viable again in the meta. Then the new ones. After using an active skill, deal extra damage equal to 3% of the damage dealt to the target on each hit for 1 turn, up to 3 stacks. That's very nice. 3% isn't a lot, but at the same time it is a lot. This might make the difference between killing a target or not killing a target. I guess we'll just have to see. Then primed and ready. So when other allied characters use active skills, increase your next active skill damage dealt by 10% up to 4 stacks. So 40% extra damage dealt. Let's see who is burst, because this is like OP. The thing is, again, this is a tactic that scales, not from, like, it doesn't give you stats from the beginning. Instead, it gives them to you after your enemy does something. And I think if you have this tactic on a character like Green Arima, Easter Idol, Yamori, the enemy is gonna kill that character in the first round anyways. So you don't even really get to use the perks of it. So yeah. Assistance tactic. So this is the one that was already broken. Effective in backup state. Increases all allies damage dealt by 15%. So from 12 to 15. And then new. When an enemy dies on the field, instantly gain 20% ultimate skill energy. This is just useless. So we can forget about this part. This is still like an S tier tactic for sure, since it does work on backups. And 15% damage dealt for the entire team is just crazy overpowered. So yeah. The next one, priority protection. So when the battle starts, inflict the highest attack allied character, debuff immunity, and basic stat reduction for 1 turn. So this probably means basic stat reduction immunity, because I don't think it's gonna reduce your own allied characters. It's like basic stats. But yeah, I mean, this is decent. I mean, it's pretty useless on like Untaku characters, since you have debuff immunity already, so it doesn't really do much. But yeah, I mean, it's still good because of the stats, of course. Now, this is the one we already have. Now, these 3 are scary simply because only CCG is able to actually use these 3, because Control doesn't really have any useful characters except the new Juzo. So, tactic effects. After using a single target active skill, randomly inflict one of the following effects. Blood Piercer for 2 turns, Incapacitation for 1 turn, or Disruption for 1 turn. So the Disruption is additional, and it looks like Blood Piercer, and yeah, the rest is the same, but Disruption is new, so you can also disrupt now, which is pretty nice. Group Upgrade. For every 10 debuffs applied to all enemies, increase the skill level of all allied characters. So I don't really know how often debuffs proc. I never really looked at debuffs, so I can't tell if 10 is a lot or not. But this might be very good for AI versus AI fights. I mean, a full skill star up that is gonna decide fights. So yeah. Then the last one, Momentum Strike. When you inflict disabling or weak to the enemy target, immediately deal damage equal to 10% of their max HP.
damage capped at 100% of your max HP. This is gonna go so well on the new Juzo, since he weakens like everybody. That's gonna make it even easier for CCG to kill Green Owl. But yeah, that's a really nice one. And yeah, that's it. That's everything I wanted to say. This was also the first reaction for me. I didn't read the past before. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.